And we lose because I've got a team full of fucking idiots.
Yeah, but you just.
You what? I'm going to get a screenshot of all of this and everything, and I'm going to forward it to people. I want to know exactly how fucking idiots like this get in my fucking rating. Second time they took the Lord. I ain't going to be able to hold them off this time. It's all I can do just to kill the ninja. And he and I have had some epic fucking fights. I'll be right back.
Yeah, yeah.
Apologize for the outburst.
I warned them. I told them if they heard anything, it's because you were fucking mobile.
It was ranked.
Mm-hmm.
It was ranked. It wouldn't bother me if it wasn't ranked. It's just that.
How is everybody doing this Sunday afternoon? For those of you that were hearing Ronan cuss, he was playing Mobile Legends on his phone. So things tend to happen when that happens, and he was playing a ranked game. And apparently, and I took peeks, I'll admit. He was playing with people that really didn't seem to be the kind of players that need to be playing ranked, but I hate to say it, sometimes you get stuck with idiots. He's hitting him. So, yep, that's me cutting off the Bluetooth. Hi, MC.
Power off.
That's me cutting off the Bluetooth speaker so it doesn't do that later. So, yeah, welcome to the Creative Writing Stream. As always, all my links and stuff is in the description, as well as instructions on how to do a Ghetto Streamlabs and why we need to do it that way. What you see on screen is a map of a world that I created from an idea I had of taking a role-playing game and making it my own. Namely GURPS, because you could do that in GURPS. And for those of you that don't know what that's short for, it's a generic universal role-playing system. It was an old tabletop role-playing game that you could tailor depending on the modules that you bought or the extended rule books that you bought to go along with the base rule book. You could do anything from a D&D type adventure to a more futuristic and anywhere in between. They did have a cyberpunk module at one time. And they also have like a GURPS Supers where you can create your own superhero. And they had, I love the gaming system because it was flexible and it started giving me ideas. And the idea that it gave me, or at least one of the ideas that it gave me, was creating this world so I can game within this world and call it mine. From there, ideas bloomed for short stories and short adventures and things of that nature. If it seems that I'm double tapping a lot, if you hear that on the microphone, it's because the battery in my mouse died and I have to use the trackpad or mouse pad or whatever the hell you call the thing on the laptop. So, and it's, small space for what I need it for, but since I'm not gaming, it works. So over here, there's a kingdom. That's a Tignal kingdom. Over here is the Dark Wood. And here pretty much is where most of the adventures start for one of the first fantasy books I'm going to write about my world. Now, before we get into that, things happened yesterday. We got to hang out with our friends Sage and Shaggy, Addie, Sage's dad. Hi. Oh, we're talking about writing and stuff like that. And at the end of it, Shaggy and Addie gave us some extra food they had from a food bank. Because apparently the food banks here in Texas give you a butt ton of food. So they had extras, so they gave it to us, and we got a little extra in cash to go to the store today to buy meats and stuff so we can have food. So we will be eating for the week. That's wonderful. $90 total worth of tips came in last week, so that has paid for a lot of stuff. So we appreciate all the tips and all the support you guys have been giving us. He gets his first paycheck this coming week?
Yeah, this week. This
week.
Thursday.
No, it's not exactly a D&D game map, but it could be used as one. It's a GURPS game map.
Yeah.
Memes, which is short for Generic Universal Role-Playing System. This is also the world that I created for my fantasy short stories and things of that nature, at least one half of it.
Yeah.
This is the only copy that I have left because the Roach Trap molded the actual physical copy.
We're going to be redoing the map, though, and everything.
Yeah.
And we're going to actually expand the map and everything. It's going to get much bigger and everything because we have to add in a few key areas.
Yeah, that we do. So that was the first RPG I ever played, at least tabletop. Yeah, I loved GURPS. The first actual tabletop role-playing game I ever played, it wasn't D&D. Oh, my God, what did they introduce me to?
Oh, I know mine was D&D and everything.
I think mine was actually Robotech.
Oh, God.
I think it's the first game I played with Phil and Omar and them was the Robotech role-playing game, where the main rule was never leave your mech and their motorcycle because no matter what they aim at on the bike, they will always hit the tire.
Yeah.
That always happened. Yeah.
I started off with Dungeons and Dragons First Edition. This was in 1975. I was 8. And my cousin said, we need one more person. I was over visiting with him for the weekend and everything. We need one more person to do that. He was 10. His friend that was running the game was like 14. And you to see us trip and stumble through to see me trip and stumble through. I'm like, what does that do?
Yeah.
I roll that D20 and everything. And I think he came up a 19 and everybody went, I said, is that bad? And the guy that was running the game said, no.
I always hated it when the GM had that look on his face after he rolled to see if you hit one of your characters.
The random encounter.
Yeah, I had one GM that he did that one time we were playing Shadowrun, and his exact phrase was, God damn it, why can't I roll this good when I'm playing? And everybody around the table went, oh shit. That meant our butts were kicked. Pretty much. Ooh, the saving rolls. Yeah. There's been a lot of hullabaloo that we won't get into about Disney remaking a lot of their animated films.
I have one little take on that. If they feel that that's what they need to do, okay. But if they expect the entire populace to agree with it and everything, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. Not everybody's going to want a live remake of something that, especially a classic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not only that, it's, you and I discussed this. They, nowadays, looking at those Disney classics, they've misinterpreted a lot of what those female leads were actually going for. Like the newest one that came out, which was Aladdin. Mm-hmm. Everybody said that they had to make her more empowered because in the original Disney movie, all she wanted was a husband, when that was bullshit. Yeah. If you watched Disney's Aladdin and all you came away from that film was that Jasmine wanted a husband, you weren't paying attention to all the shit that was going on in the movie because that wasn't even a quarter of it. Mm-hmm. Her main contention was that she was constrained within her within her cast to act a certain way, be a certain person, do certain things, and she wasn't allowed out of the palace. She wanted her freedom. She didn't care whether or not she had a man. And if she was going to be married, it wasn't going to be a marriage arrangement. She wanted to marry for love. So there was more there than man chasing. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to push the same narrative with Ariel.
Well, they can do, like I said, whatever they want to. If if it makes money, it makes money. If it fails, it fails. I mean,
Yeah.
it's their money.
Yeah. And then the one that I don't think is going to do good at all is they're going to do a live action Mulan, where they're not going to have a Mushu. They're going to have a phoenix, which was not part of the Chinese lexicon. Hi, Mad Dodge. And they're going to remove all of the musical numbers.
Okay.
So I don't really
the
know about
musical
that
numbers
one.
sometimes don't go all that well in a
No.
live action.
But I mean, but to me, make a man out of you and her theme song when she was torn at the beginning of the movie, those are iconic. Those actually, help the narrative along. And to take those iconic songs out of that, you're going to take a lot of the heart and charm out of the movie as well, in my opinion. So is replacing a lexicon in Chinese theology, the dragon, with something that has nothing to do with Chinese theology. A phoenix. I mean, come on. At least stay within the lexicon. Of course, if you were going to try and make that argument, you have the same people, you're going to have the same people saying, well, it's Disney's interpretation and they don't have to go with canon and blah, 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 and on and on. This is a Chinese folk tale. Okay? So they kind of have to, in my opinion, stick somewhat to the canon. Morning, Sora. So far we have a Mad Dodge, we have a Sora Luna, we have a Memes of Destruction, and earlier on there was a Ghost Dog that popped in, and a Jay Willie. So we have lots of people. Let's see. First thing we're going to do is world building. If you're going to write stories that aren't fan fiction, okay, so I'm going to put that caveat in there, and they're fantasy or futuristic stories. Exactly. Russian collusion confirmed.
Those damn Russian bots.
Hi, Green Thunder, the mighty. There's certain things. First, you have to build a world. You have an idea. You start out with an idea. You start out with an inspiration. And if it's not based in this world, and even if it is loosely based in this world, you're still going to have to build a world that is believable, that people can be immersed in when they read your books or they read your comic books.
It has to have really and truly an origin, a history.
Yep.
A timeline, so to speak, and everything that people could go back to it. Well, how did we get to this point? Well, let me explain how you got to that point. Here it is. This is how everything got started in the beginning. We moved on down and everything. Minor events happened here and there. And you have to basically have a somewhat historic timeline for things to fall into.
You do. I mean, one of the best, and it's not only because he's one of my favorite authors, but as far as I'm concerned, one of the best ways that it was ever done was when Tolkien did it with his world building and his timeline and his Silmarillion, where he established the Maiar and the Valar and all that there. That was such a level of world building.
Yeah.
That
he gave it its own history, its own background. He invented languages.
Yeah, he did. He invented the languages.
You have all of this, everything that piles on and everything to really immerse you into the world. And if you'll go ahead and tell everybody the name of this world.
The name of this world is Galena, and I'm going to write this down in chat. That way you guys can see it. This came about before I even started writing short stories. I already had character backgrounds written up, which I have to rewrite because those were in notebooks, old school. And I figured I have to, if I'm actually going to tell stories, I have to put a map down for two reasons. To help world building, to give people a reference when they start reading the books, and two, so I can have that reference and work off of it when I'm writing my books. So I can have the continuity of the world within the novels that I'm writing So, one city that is far east all of a sudden isn't far west in the next book. Continuity is very important. Yep, Pratchett. See, I've got to read Discworld. I haven't read Discworld. Another world that is really good and really established because it walks you through a timeline of events, even though the man really needed to cut short his descriptions,
The Wheel of
was
Time.
Robert Jordan in the Wheel of Time series. I absolutely love the way they build the world. Where he, you really felt the world and how it worked.
A series of books that I actually read, and it's been a long time, so nobody quizzed me on it and everything, because I do not remember that much about it.
Yeah.
There were 2 series of books. One was called the Rift War Saga.
Yeah.
And everything. Loved it.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, one of the primary characters in that particular saga and everything, his name was simply Pug. P-U-G.
Uh-huh.
He was a wizard.
Yeah.
Entertaining. It really got you into wanting to read more about it. Another series that was real good about immersing you into the world. The Dragon Riders of Pern.
Yes, the Dragon Riders of Pern. Oh my God, Anne McCaffrey. With her first book, she drew me in with the characters and their establishment. Because for those of you that have never heard of the Dragon Riders of Pern, this is a series of books of people that had to leave our world and found this other world to live on, and they had to set up their society, they had to set up their culture, they had to survive in this world. And on this world were dragons that they could bond with, that they could ride. And they came up with, problems emerged within the world, environmental problems that they had to figure out how to fight. I don't want to give too much away in the book.
It's an excellent series. I recommend, if you just want something to read where you can get lost in a book and everything, read the series. You can get lost in it, and you can really burn up a week or two. Reading.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because once you start, she gives you just enough toward the end and everything. I got to get the other book, man.
Yes. You're scrambling for the books. Yeah, it is. It's a really great series. However, there are some book series that are, hey, Wikipedia, book series that are born of movies or games or TV shows and things of that nature that expand the world, that expand the canon of the world. 3 such examples off the top of my head are the Forgotten Realms series, anything from A. Salvatore.
Yep.
There were several authors.
There were Dark Sun Adventures.
Yeah.
Forgotten Realms, Dark Sun.
The multiple authors that expand the Star Wars galaxy. Yeah. They expanded the canon as well. And the third one, a lot of people don't know this, that have probably only played the games online, but BattleTech has an entire bevy of novels that goes into the clans, what the clans were about, why the clans were warring with one another. So, there are several reasons to write books. There are even several novels out there about Shadowrun, establishing the world, getting to know the characters. If you guys ever have a chance and you run across it, the first 2 books of the Shadowrun series are called Never Make a Deal with a Dragon, Part 1 and 2. It establishes the world through the eyes.
That's actually a really good.
Yes, I was reading it to you down the road.
We were going down the road. I'd be driving. She'd be actually be reading the stories to me and everything.
Yeah.
You need to hurry up and get to the other book now. Start reading.
There's a mineral containing. Oh yeah. Well, this is I kind of figured it did sound familiar when it popped into my head. It did. The first 2 books set up the world through the eyes of someone who used to be a corporate slave. Mm-hmm. He actually turned out to be a shaman with a totem trying to contact him, and he literally thought he was going insane, because here's a guy that was very technical minded, that was a wage slave or Sorari man, which was
that's the whole love of the thing and everything, to see this conflict erupt in the guy and everything, and him trying to figure it out, and other people trying to help him figure it out and everything. He's like, huh?
Right? Yeah, huh?
It's like, I can do that?
Right. So once you build the world, the stories just kind of flow from the worlds that were built. In China. Yeah, I know. I was summoned. Hi, Optimus. There are also too, a lot of people pick up a comic book without knowing what's behind it. There's a lot of world building in comic books. Multiverses are multiple worlds that are built upon all these characters that exist within this world, different cities, different states. Sometimes there's crossover within these comic books, and there's a lot there to digest and to come across and to get to know these characters. Growing up and in high school, my favorite the comic books I couldn't wait to come out were obviously most people's favorite, not everybody's. Pretty good, Optimus. How's it going with you?
And yes, Optimus, praise Doug.
Yeah, praise Doug. I liked Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
I read the Ghost Rider comic book when it came out. I love the Night Stalkers. The Night Stalkers was my jam.
You read the updated Ghost Rider when it came out. I read the original Ghost Rider when he was on horseback.
I got to read X-Force as well as some X-Men comic books. And I also got 3 of the different Superman comic books that came out after the death of Superman. So the Superboy, the Cyborg Superman,
John Steele,
yep, that one as well. Which leads us to characters and character development. And the difference, to me, in my opinion, the difference between tokenizing a character and having a character firmly established. Okay, no problem. Everybody is crying tokenization now that, these new brands of not so great comic books are coming out. And in a lot of instances, I agree. One such instance would be Ironheart, because she stole his suit, basically. Yeah. Okay. And from what I've seen from the reviews of this comic book, she really doesn't have a personality.
I think they're grasping at straws and what to do. So,
however,
it's going to be. Let's you're building something, so why not call it dwarf?
Right, not call it dwarf. Okay, that brings us to the second part of characters and characters creation. Creating a world means you have to create people to go in that world. Mm-hmm. And so one of our outlines, because that's one, and then I outline my books as I'm writing them for continuity's sake, is coming up with families, characters, and family trees. How these people are related to one another, how they know one another. And you have to do this because, Eva can't be Eva in the first book, and then you change her name in the second and third book because you can't remember what you called her back in the first. And I don't know why they misspelled that, because that's a C. I remember putting that as a C before. But yeah. So, when you establish your world, you establish the characters. You start with names, you start with relations, you start with, and then you work down the line. Are they married to one another? Do they have children? Are they friends of the family? Are they just friends or acquaintances? All these things need to be established, because working these relationships into these books needs to feel real and fluid, organic as it will, instead of forced. And this is where, if a lot of people saw me on Twitter type, an author writes what he knows. Well, if you create the world, you know the world. But another aspect of writing what you know is, I'm an only child. So I can write books all day long from the perspective of an only child, because that's what I am. However, if I decide to step out of that comfort zone of being an only child and try to write about sibling relationships, it's going to flop, because I know nothing about the dynamics of a sibling relationship. I have to draw upon, instead, collective experiences and knowledge of people that I know that have siblings and how their relationships work.
Now, yeah, we have a ton of people. We have created so many people.
Yeah, we do. And we do this by bouncing ideas and stories off of each other. Because it's like it's kind of like stress relief for us. If we've had a long day, we'll vent to each other and then we'll use the keywords. Okay, let's switch gears. How about this for a story? And so we'll start launching into it as our characters.
And some of the storylines we can come up with and everything would be really great. But sometimes there's just okay, well, that's all right and everything, but how would that follow into okay, never mind that.
Yeah. That we'd really like that character to do that, but then that character would be really overpowered. Yeah. So we have to rein that back. So that's how we, do these back and forth, because
there's one person in here and everything that's in our listing and everything that he is super powerful. He is absolutely overpowered. Problem is he doesn't know how to use any of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
My principal characters and everything, he, really young, wants really hard to help out and protect his family. So he goes out and goes on this long quest and adventure to track down a book that has this massive amount of magical knowledge. It was crafted and created by dragons. The problem is he basically worked a spell and everything that allowed him to gain all of the knowledge that was in that tome all at one time. Imagine downloading the entire internet into your mind all at one thing and everything. Not only did it almost kill him and everything, he doesn't even know the languages yet that it would take to translate any of the knowledge that he knows. So you'll be seeing him sometimes, especially in the stories, where he'll be having a conversation. He'll say one moment and he will literally stop to write something down. Did you find something important? Did you remember something important? I don't know what I remembered and everything. I just have to write it down for future reference.
Yeah. I mean, it works that way sometimes. I have the main protagonist of the Robin stories. Obviously, her name is Robin. She's 18 years old, and she decided that she was going to open up and run a house for the disenfranchised, the homeless, and recovering addicts. There's only one problem. She had this wonderful, grandiose idea of running it off donations in a time where there is no more USA. There's no more government centralized.
Exactly, Wikipedia is exactly like dreaming about eating a marshmallow and wind up to find you've eaten your pillow.
Yeah. So she's found herself underwater and struggling to keep everything going. But the one thing she doesn't want to do is ask the people she's helping for help. Because she doesn't feel that is something that's prudent, because she opened her door to see these people, allowed them to come in, and now she's having all these problems, and she's like, but I can't ask them. They're just now getting back on their feet, so I can't ask them for help. What ensues in the book is something that, is rather funny, because, all right, and some of you will probably say, well, okay, you read The Hunger Games. Have I read The Hunger Games? No, I have not read The Hunger Games. In 2065, there is a world of a fractured United States of America. They're all broken up into different districts. Each district is its own border and border crossing. Each district has its own way of governing itself. The country is so fractured to the point where there is no more democracy. It's the most powerful corporation is what is in power in this district at the time. So there's always constant power plays and struggles for powers going on. There's always searches for quote unquote talent that isn't exactly on the up and up in order to topple corporations so the next corporation can take its place and run things. And I have broken down 2065 into 4 different districts. I think I got it in 4 different districts. However, this was supposed to be the U.S. map that I pulled from the internet, but for some strange reason it has disappeared.
We'll have to get it again.
Well, I hadn't finished redrawing the districts and all
Yeah.
that shit, so yeah, I'm doing it again. And if anybody can tell me a decent, reliable, and easy to use see, I didn't know that because I only remember Fallout 4. I've only played New Vegas, so I don't know the timeline for the Fallout games.
Yeah, there has been no nuclear war.
No.
Thank goodness. But as in the Shadowrun universe and everything, there has been an awakening of magic.
Yeah, and that upheaval and awakening of magic and the resurgence of the old races created chaos to the point that the United States government couldn't keep up and it fractured under the pressure.
It's
And in this world, for those of you that are about to smile, the Native Americans in this world have reclaimed all of their lands. So Denver, Colorado, those places that were heavily Native American, Massachusetts is heavily Native American now. The Seminole Indians in Florida, along with the other Native Americans in Florida, took a look at all the white men and said, "Get the fuck out of our state. This is ours. Screw you. Okay, if you want any part of this state, you can have the panhandle. That's only for vacations. Because this is our state. This is our stuff." And during this upheaval, during all of the strife, there were a lot of conflicts. There was a lot of infighting, and there was a lot of pollution in the world in 2065. So much so to the point of completely fucking up the environment. Where there's no clean water.
Infrastructure collapses and everything. Fresh water is scarce and everything. A lot of soy-based products are being consumed and everything. There's not a whole lot of room for fresh food, and freshly grown food or anything like that.
As a matter of fact, the only pockets of actual fresh food and meat left are the Native American lands, because the spirits of the land started whispering to them to say, "Hey, you need to do this. You need to stock this up. You need to huddle together in these areas because something is about to happen. And the world is going to look to you for these resources because there won't be any, except for the ones that you grow and cultivate and farm." So all that has happened. Soy boy apocalypse. I know, right? There's soy coffee. Oh, God.
Soy calf.
Soy calf. Soy-based products that could make you just go, "No, thanks. I'm good."
I'll die.
Yeah, I'll die. People that can't afford.
Have a soy burger. I'd rather starve to death.
Right. So, yeah, these are people that are literally living off of whatever they can find. Soy-based products, protein bars, and energy drinks, basically.
Much.
And this is one part of the world, and the other half of the world we already showed you, which was Galena, these are the 2 worlds that I'm introducing in my novel via a gate that just sort of mysteriously appears.
What are you talking about? Just suddenly disappeared and everything. We created it. Quite lovely. Thank you.
Well, Datalon, I'm sorry, but it completely appeared totally out of the blue for me because I wasn't expecting that in my forest, in my backyard.
Well, it just opens. It wasn't in your backyard. It was in my front yard.
This is what you get when you take a pair of brothers and everything that are half gnome and half dwarven, and their
very
propensity
For tinkering.
For tinkering in anything magical can be rather comical.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what they're inventing. They just are inventing
Inventing it, yeah.
And everything. And the whole process behind this wasn't to go to another world or another dimension or another land whatsoever.
No.
It was to open a gate here. It's going to open up over there at this wonderous place called the City of Light, the home of the Paladins of Galena and the main military body. And allow fast travel back and forth.
Right.
Yeah. Didn't quite work out that way.
No, didn't quite work out that way. But what did work out was a very interesting chain of events that has made me I think I'm halfway through the first book now.
Yeah, you're about halfway through the first book.
And there's there's fish out of water stuff in it, but not so much as that it bogs it down.
It can be rather comical, like poor Daedalon and everything. Somebody nicknamed their RV a rust bucket. And he stands there for a few minutes and everything, discussing with people and everything how impossible it was for a rusty bucket to motor about on its own.
Right. Exactly. There are different ways for you to, make background stories, make background characters. However, you always have to keep in mind that you have to balance your characters out. Your character can't be intrinsically weak 100% through these novels. There has to be some sort of change or arc. There has to be some sort of realization of who they are and what they can accomplish. Not to the point of being able to solve every problem that comes their way, because nobody can do that. That's impossible.
Like the poor building assessor and everything that, good-natured Shayak thought was threatening, these poor defenseless women and children and everything. So now you have this massive individual of over 7 feet tall who just reaches down, grabs the poor guy by the jaw and everything and picks him up and everything and threatens to kill him.
Right.
And till his mom or was it grandma or Nana that came out and
I think it was his mother. It was his mother. Another character on my side, his name is Nigel. Nigel works security for the house of the disenfranchised, homeless, and et al. And he starts having experiences. Like he's beginning to gain a sense of what is inherently good and what is inherently evil. And it's beginning to scare him as the magic awakens inside him of him being a paladin, because he's devoutly Catholic. So there's this conflict within him of, I'm Christian, I'm Catholic. There's no way I can study magic because that's against what being Christian is.
It's against all of my rules.
Right, it's against all of my rules. There's no way that I can do this.
But not to worry and everything, because there's this wonderful kid named Charlie. And Charlie teaches him the basics of being a paladin by exposing him to Dungeons and Dragons books.
It's an 11-year-old, so I mean
it's that whole thing right there, and everything's like, you know what?
Yeah. And the funny thing about Charlie, see, this is how I balance out my characters a bit. Charlie's precocious. He's very, very smart for an 11-year-old. Right, really. And he's been experimenting with potions and trying to put potions together. Since magic has awakened in our land, and he's trying to figure this out. So he's working with potions. He's taking down notes. He's trying to make potions in his own recipes. And later on in the books,
that's because we got to get the goodies.
Right. Later on in the books, you begin to realize that this kid has got a propensity for turning anything into a potion. However,
always reliable.
In his wizarding abilities, he can't cast a spell to save his life.
Blows up in his face every time.
Always backfires.
His sister cannot brew a potion and everything, but yet she can use magic at will.
Yeah.
And everything. Doesn't even have to think about it. if you put them both together,
they're one hell of a wizard.
You've got one hell of a wizard and everything, you know. You split them up and everything. Wait, I have this potion might work,
right? So
she, one of my guys and everything.
Not to worry, I have a potion for that.
Yeah, a potion for that. Let me see if I can get to my little blog over here and show you guys. I write little short stories that aren't going to be incorporated in
Underfoot through and through.
Right, underfoot through and through. In the house, there is a group of mischievous little children called the Underfoot Clan. Now, the reason why they're called the Underfoot Clan,
They're always underfoot,
is because they're always underfoot, trying to sneak around, getting all the goodies that the house parents make in the kitchens. So they are, you know, it's as we called it, mission implausible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a Mission Implausible series. And as you can see, the kids are writing these notes. So that's basically their files. You know, so each of these little screencasts for these chapters of the book.
Imagine a Mission Impossible crew and everything that's going to accomplish something wondrous with Fisher-Price accessories.
Fisher-Price accessories strung together wire hangers. Yeah.
Braided clothesline and everything, and a bunch of coat hangers and everything. That's a grappling hook right there.
To get the brownies. They got to get the brownies.
They have to get the brownies. The brownies and the fudgies.
The brownies and the fudgies.
We have to get the fudgies.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, these are fun little stories that I have on my blog. I started another one, but I have to go back and read the first couple of chapters and then continue the story from there. But yeah, this is the world that I'm creating, and I'm doing it in a different way from everybody else, I would like to think, because not only am I writing the big novels in the series, I'm putting short stories of a little more lore on my blog, and I'm also doing character profiles on my blog. And these character profiles are not your run-of-the-mill character profiles. Let me see if I can pull one up over here to show you guys. Let me see. I'm going to put that in there, so that should show up. That's the cast of characters. Here we go. Character spotlight, Jonathan Randall. He's one of the house parents. Now, the reason why it's different is for two reasons. One, it's a small little one-post story about an interviewer that's interviewing these people, so you can get a good sense of their attitude. And number two, comments are open on each of these posts, because if you want to ask the character a question, you can put it in the comments section and it will be answered as the character, like you're having a conversation with the character, which I thought would be a neat way to, you know, have an interactive blog. So yeah, this is so I'll read this one to you guys real quick. By the time I got finished talking to Mrs. Randall, she looked out the window and smiled. Looks like my husband had finished his project for the day. He's outside. If you still want to interview him, he can be a little rough around the edges. Duly noted, ma'am, but I was told to interview those that got it running. I opened the door and turned toward it as I closed. You always leave your back open like that, kid? In neighborhoods like this, I'll get you killed. I raised my recorder as I turned to face a man who was scratching his stubble. I cleared my throat. I never thought about it like that before. Looks like it. Get sent out of the office much? No, sir. That figures. Don't ever turn your back to the street, kid. He held out his hand. Jonathan Randall, I hear you're looking to ask me questions. Yes, sir, I am, if you don't mind. He sat down on the stoop and pointed next to him. Cop a squat. I'm keeping an eye on the smaller kids. I sat down next to him. Yep, asking the character questions. Yeah, I figured that was really, it'd be a unique way to interact and really get to know the characters as I'm writing the novels and stuff. Let me see. I sat down next to him and watched as one small child snuck up on another, tagged her, and ran off. Mr. Randall, are you ever afraid of anyone taking any of these children? Nodding. I'd be a fool if I didn't. This house is surrounded by empty tenement buildings, the gangs hiding in them, and anyone who thinks they can make a quick buck by snapping one of them up and selling them to another sector. You sound like a military man. Marine. Don't you mean former? Once a Marine, son, always a Marine. You never stop being one. He took out a cigar and offered me one. I politely declined. I see you smoke. Do you drink? Only once in a while and in good company. I tend to go too far when I drink alone. Alcoholic? In a sense. Is there something else you wanted to ask? I spoke to Nigel. He said you used to handle all the security until he came along later. Yeah, it was a lot of stress and I couldn't find anyone to help. I had 4 people per floor under me. That's 20 people in 12-hour shifts. They have to wake me up if something happened. Now, Nigel and I swap shifts every 3 months. We still do 12-hour shifts, though. I have to interview Crichton next. Any advice? Yeah, be very respectful and don't ogle his wife. He makes me look like a teddy bear. Yes, sir. I stopped for a second and then looked in his direction. May I ask what happened to change your drinking habits? Statistics show that most retired soldiers post-conflict have heavy drinking problems. Mr. Randall took a long, deep sigh and his shoulders slumped. He hung his head down. I came home drunk off my butt one night and hit my wife for no reason. She stood there holding her cheek in shock with tears running down her face. I left. I went and got help. Most take more than one time to stop. I treasure every moment I have with my wife, and I vowed I would never make her cry. When she stood there looking at me with those tears, I had to do right by her. There's no other choice. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Yeah. So long as there is breath in my lungs, these children will never be harmed again. And that's a look into Mr. Randall.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I figured the asking the characters was something that no other author had ever done before.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I came up with the idea.
It's a one, and you can ask any of the characters. That's the whole beautiful bit together. Each character in each one of these in her stories has their own specific personality.
Yep.
Daedalon, for instance, very personable, very polite, and everything. Very inquisitive. He likes to learn things and everything. By nature and everything in the books, he is a linguist.
Yeah.
His mastery of languages is second to none. If he runs across a language that he finds interesting, he will study it until he masters it, both the verbal and the written forms.
Yeah. Here's the one for the titular character. All right, this is Robin. I have to take a drink of water because every time I talk like Mr. Randall, I get my throat all scratchy. Okay. A young woman enters a stark room. She takes a small portion of her chestnut hair and begins to twist it. From the door, she sees an older gentleman fidgeting with a digital recorder. He's sitting in a folding chair behind a square card table. He motions to the folding chair closest to her. Please have a seat, miss. I thought this was an interview. It looks more like a police interrogation with this setup. She slowly slides into the designated seat. Sorry for the stark accommodations. This isn't one of the best neighborhoods. I know that. I live here. The reporter shuffles the recorder closer to her. Shall we begin? She nods. Your name is Robin, right? Yes, Robin Sykes. You told my editor you've been running the Hanover House. Is this it? She nods. For 7 years now. So she's 25 now when the book started. Now. So yeah. Yes, that would mean you opened it before you even graduated high school at 17? Normally, yes, but I graduated a year early. I see. Can you tell us a little bit about what you and the Hanover House is exactly? She points to the floor behind her. Is it all right if I pace and talk? It's just easier for me. Of course, she points to the recorder. How sensitive is that? It will be able to record your voice from across the room. Oh, good. That means I don't have to raise my voice. I hate doing that. She stands and begins to walk the floor. About me. Well, I'm 24 and I have always wanted to build a place where people can come and feel safe and secure. A place where they can get back on their feet and then when they're ready to go back out into this messed up world we live in. I like to read, and not that I have much time to do that lately, and I like to cook and relax. Do you have children? Well, if you count all the orphans and abused children. When are you gonna? That's Kevin.
When are you gonna make the cookies?
She looks at the door. Kevin, go back to the living room with Mr. Randall. She looks at the ceiling and scratches her head. Where? Oh yeah. Her eyes widen as she reacquires the thought. Children. I have a lot of children, but none of my own. Does that bother you? No, I don't have time for it to bother me. I think a couple of them have adopted me anyway. She chuckles and points to the door. Continue. I didn't mean to break your train of thought. I'm used to it. It gets broken constantly. She smiles. I was born to two wonderful parents who encouraged me to follow my heart's desire. They even helped me get started with the Hanover House. I see. Where are they now? Missing. They went on a transcontinental flight for a wedding anniversary and never came back. Everyone spent months looking for them, but they haven't been found. The reporter fiddles with his tie. Do you think they may be deceased? She looks thoughtfully at the reporter. No, something tells me they are still out there somewhere. I can't explain it, but I know they aren't dead. How big is the Hanover House? Let's see how to fully explain it. It's 5 floors tall and looks like a gigantic plantation house from the Civil War era. It's big enough to house about 1,000 people comfortably. 1,000 people? There are 1,000 people in this place? How do you manage? With house parents, security, teachers for classes, and a whole lot of patients. That's how I manage. Oh, and I have counselors as well to help the abused heal. Nurses' offices, kitchens. We have infirmaries and kitchens on each floor. He looks at her incredulously, putting a hand up to stop his next question. There are trained individuals in each infirmary, and we have physicians that come and do regular checkups. We also have volunteers in the house that cook. We all sit down, plan meals, and help one another when the time comes. So you charge rent or some sort of compensation? She just looks at him with an eyebrow raised and a look of disdain. No, we have fundraisers. Some of these people have lost their homes due to downsizing and can't afford to pay rent. They give when they can as well. If I charged the jobless rent, they'd be homeless and my house would be practically empty. She makes her way to the window and looks outside to the children below. You mentioned security. The high school I went to. Yep. Yes, we have security offices on each floor, and the personnel are former military and law enforcement. They also love children. That's important. Before you ask, they have been trained on how to handle situations with abused children, so they do not further traumatize them. They are more like uncles and fathers that step in when something happens. Have you been broken into? Yes, we do live in the middle of 2 rival gang territories. I was wondering how you picked the location. It was cheap and in the middle of a neighborhood that needed it. Do the gangs come here? They don't all come at the same time, and they are made to leave their weapons in a locked box just outside the door. If they start problems, they are escorted out. They don't protest about not being able to have their weapons. Wait, you let them in here? Sometimes they need to eat as well. Yes, I let them in. We are established neutral territory. If they don't leave their weapons in the box outside, they don't eat. Period. Shaking his head, the reporter lets a sly smile cross his face. You run quite a place here. I would have never thought I would even hear about a place like this in any of the slums. You're either a saint or a little crazy, if you don't mind my assertion. I think I'm a little both, actually.
That's Robin.
And that's Robin. So, yeah, that's 2 of the character profiles for 2 of the characters. Now, there are some characters in Denver that'll be introduced in later novels. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. And some of those are over here. Now, obviously, they're Shadowrun characters, so we're going to be calling them something else in the novels because I want to avoid any copyright problems along the way. So, in 2065, since there is no more United States of America, there is no more NORAD. So there is no more Cheyenne Mountain Military Base.
No, but it has been taken over.
Yep.
By a lively crew.
Yeah, by a very lively crew. Yeah. Yeah. This is a rather big place, and it's, she does what she can. I was 5 something, and then we built a new school too long ago to remember. Yeah. So yeah, that's where she's at right now. And because of the state of affairs and the state of the government in the district that she lives in, her house is falling apart and it's in danger of being closed and the people being kicked out because, well, there's a hole in the roof for one thing. The pool has a tarp over it because it doesn't work.
There's a hole in your roof.
Right? So yeah, the first novel is going to introduce you to Robin, some of her crew, and then some of
My crew.
Yeah, Ronan's characters as well. So you get to see the dichotomy that happens, and
You get to see the most jovial storm giant in the world.
Typhon, the gigantic grandfather, literally. And
this
figuratively.
this is Typhon is every child's grandpa
Yeah.
and everything, you know. What is it? Never mind, have a peppermint.
Right. Yeah.
That will come along and as part of the later on in the first book, toward the end of the first book, somebody offers him a peppermint stick.
Yeah.
And he absolutely falls in love with it. So he thinks now that every child, as long as they're being good, they have a peppermint stick.
Yeah. Peppermint stick.
But
It's what
he's
does.
jovial and everything.
Yeah.
And the thought of meeting children just, puts a pep in his step and everything and makes him happy.
Yeah. And as you can imagine, crossing over into our world with the old fairy tales and stuff, he does get asked by children if he eats children.
Yes. Do you eat children?
Do you eat children?
Lord, no. Spoil them maybe, but not eat them.
Yeah. Now, we have just recently, because I didn't realize how many anime I had actually watched until I started sitting down and making a list. There's a lot. There's a lot. And I'm bringing up anime in terms of character arcs, which is a huge part of character development. And also, that also bleeds into television shows. Without a good character arc, you just have, to me, a two-dimensional character. They have to have some kind of growth. Some sort of, something that happens.
Crichton's growth during the course of all this and everything is immense.
Yes, it is. So to me, there are two types of anime out there. There are, in terms of character development, there are some with absolutely wonderful. Had to quit it. Cholesterol too high. There's absolutely wonderful animes out there with character development. And then there are some where it looks like there's more character development in the supporting characters than there is in the main character. And one particular story or anime comes to mind in that aspect, and that's Bleach with Ichigo. To me, there is far more character development in the supporting characters. There's more character arcs in the supporting characters than there is in Ichigo. All Ichigo wants to do is protect people. All Ichigo does is get stronger to protect people. Ichigo kicks ass, bumps into the next bad guy who kicks his ass. He gets stronger and then he kicks their ass, which is more of a progression than a character arc. He's just doing the same thing on repeat. But then you have Orihime, who has a character arc. You get to know more about Orihime. The Quincy, whose name I always forget, he has one hell of a character arc because he goes from hating anybody that is from Soul Society to actually getting to know Ichigo and becoming Ichigo's friend. That in itself is one hell of an arc, as well as him developing his own powers and progressing that way. I've watched Fairy Tail. Now, there is some character development in Fairy Tail.
Lucy
comes into her own. She gets, she does grow as a person. As much as I absolutely love Natsu's another Ichigo.
Yeah.
I want to protect everybody. I want to protect my friends. I have to get stronger to protect my friends, and I'm getting stronger to protect my friends. Wendy has one hell of a character arc.
Wendy has a lovely character arc.
Yes, she goes from being meek and timid.
It's a very fleshed out character arc.
So yeah.
When people read this and everything, one of the main characters on my side, his name is Crichton.
Yeah.
Now, Crichton, the son of Typhon, was raised and brought up primarily as a warrior and a protector. He started off, as just his father's son. He saw the injustices and people being basically bullied by large outside groups, warlords, and things like that. And when he started coming of age, he joined the ranks of the military. He rose in ranks. His father tried to quell his hot temper because he is very quick tempered, which is bad for a fellow that's half storm giant and everything because, exceptional strength. So he goes through a time and everything where his lands are just, they get control, they get finally an area of a large section of the lands that's around their basically their castle, and it's a peaceful zone, but they still have border skirmishes, people trying to push over and basically take from people that don't want to be involved in wars and everything. So this constant strife and everything. He's a good person, but he's not a nice person.
Ooh, thank you, Perfectly Faded Delusions.
This is the whole point of his being and everything is, he will guard and protect his people.
Yeah.
And so he comes back out after on his way home with one of his sons, his oldest son, as a matter of fact. And the first thing he sees is a portal, a magical portal. Nothing ever good comes with portals and portal magic in this world.
No. So
instead of thinking, oh, that's a good idea, that's another way somebody can try and invade us and everything, call out the army.
Yeah.
Which then that's the way the story goes. But to see him go from that to what he ends up, it's a wonderful, wonderful progression.
Yep, it is.
And it's going to be pretty nice, I think, for people to, I'm thinking people will actually cheer for him and everything, cheer for him from doing that to the point where sooner or later he will dress up as Santa. Well, actually not Santa, but one of Santa's elves.
Okay, you're giving away too much. You give away something, but not all of it. They still have to read the book. Now, as further books are written, there's going to be, more people introduced, more houses added to the thing. And some people from Crichton's side wishing to, stay in our world because they fall in love with the people in our world and wish to stay.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a nice mixture and everything to see, and people even from this world and everything going to that world and everything going, I could stay here forever. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's that one, and then there's a book that I'm still in final edits on and I'm looking for cover art, and I have not found cover art that I like.
I know it's hard, so hard to get.
Very hard, and it's expensive to hire somebody to do cover art.
You should talk to Luke. Luke.
Yeah, I know. She said she was going to do something for me. I don't remember if she actually got around to doing it or not. I think she did. But yeah, what to me. Okay, let's see. Back on the animes. An anime that we're currently keeping up with is Black Clover. And I'm already kind of realizing something about some animes that annoys the shit out of me. Why is it when there is like in either best friend or sibling dynamic, does one have to be loud and obnoxious? Because I like the two characters, and I can't in my brain. I'm bad with names, so if you guys want to shout out the names, all right, here we go. Let me see. Let me look it up real quick. Black Clover is really, really good. Let me see here. Black Clover fandom. Oh. Shonen Jump, Adult Swim video. No, because we're watching it on Crunchyroll. There it is. There we are. Let me see if I can get a list of the characters. Yep, these guys. This is, you can tell by the way he's written and everything. This is the loud, obnoxious one. This is the quiet and reserved one. And both of them were dropped off at the same time. Asta, there it is. Asta and they were both dropped off at the same time. Anime laxative. I don't know. And in a world where everybody uses magic, magic is a common thing. They use it anywhere from cooking to doing their laundry. And as Asta grows, he realizes that he doesn't have a lick of magic in him. And the day that everybody goes to get their magical grimoires, he doesn't receive one until he's just about home. And he receives this dirty, grimy, black and red kind of grimoire that within it is an ability for him to pull out objects that cancel or redirect magic. It's an interesting anime. It's a very interesting anime. There are some good character arcs in it, and then there are some that I wish could be improved upon. And from what I gather so far, I like the artistry. I love the animation in it. I love the interaction of the characters. It's got an underarching theme of sort of friendship is magic. It's not as prevalent as Fairy Tail, because they do have to train in order to come up with their powers. They do have to, go places and adventure. And winds up finding, a tome with a spirit in it that gives him his strength, that makes him a little stronger in using his magic. But Asta is loud, he's brash, he's in your face, he's like, eh. But what you begin to realize about Asta is people seem to gravitate toward him and find him likable. He reminds me of Naruto.
In a way.
Because, everybody that Naruto came across, at first they thought he was this loud, obnoxious little shit that they didn't want anything to do with. But then they started realizing there was something more to this kid. And that's where Asta is. That's who Asta is at the moment. And it is a really good anime to watch, this particular Black Clover anime. The storyline is rather interesting. I like the storyline.
I like the storyline. I like the animation. I like the variety.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There is one character in this particular anime that you feel kind of sorry. At first, you think she's a bitch. You know which one I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And then you feel sorry for her. And they don't have her name listed on here. Because she's the princess. She's a member of a prominent house. And the problem is she can't control her magic. And that is why she was essentially made an outcast in her own family. Her own family bullies her. And you begin to kind of relate to the bullying of her and the pressure they're putting on her and the fact that they pretty much dismissed her. And there's something else going on behind the scenes in that family, because whenever the older brother interacts with her, he acts like a royal ass to his little sister. But he keeps saying, "Why did you have to be born?" Now, you read ahead, Mr. Spoiler Alert. You know why. He told me why. I'm not going to tell you guys why. Hi, Skep.
Hey, Skep Doc.
Yeah. Because, that would be blowing the anime. But to me, there's books that have been written, there's animes that have been done, and there's, that are really, really good. And then you have your books that you pick up that were time sucks. And for me, to this date, the books on the bottom of my list that I never even want to take a look at again, hi Panina, is the Twilight series, because that was a train wreck of a series. Okay, I don't want to pick those up again because she was over the top angsty. He was even more so, and then you have all this other, and it was just like it was it was teeth grinding, but it was one of those train wrecks that you couldn't put down, which really pissed me off. Because if I would have been able to put it down and walk away from it, I read the entire series in a week. And then I told my mom those were entire moments of time I was never going to retrieve because it wasn't. There's no character development other than, oh, she fell in love with a vampire. She wants to become a vampire. She becomes a vampire. She marries a vampire. And she has a half vampire, half human kid. Ooh, character development. Ooh, fucking who? Character development. The only thing I found absolutely hilarious about this was there was a rivalry with the Twilight idiots with Stephen King, because Stephen King was interviewed and they asked him what he thought about Stephenie Meyer's writing, and he said something to the effect of that she couldn't write her way out of a paper bag. Yeah, literary correct. Yeah. And so this began all the people on the Twilight side going, oh, well, he's just jealous of all the money Stephenie Meyer had. And when I read that, the first thing in my head was, he's won how many Emmys? He's written how many books? How many books have been adapted into movies? How many miniseries has he been? Has he had? I mean, how many? This man makes more money than she could ever fucking dream of. And they're sitting here going, well, he's just jealous. No, he's not jealous. Your author is a crap writer. Period. She was. Now, I haven't read the Mockingbird series, I think that's what it's called, and I haven't read Divergent. Now, a lot of these people put it in the genre of teen stuff. I don't mind reading. I read all kinds of genres, except for romance. I cannot wrap my head around it. Romance novels are insomnia cures for me. I'll start reading a romance novel and fall asleep somewhere in the first chapter. I know. I've read Stephen King. I've read Bentley Little. I've read Ed McBain. For those of you who do not know who Ed McBain is, he is a police procedural murder mystery novel writer who does it very excellently. His world is firmly established in our world. The character development is excellent. The plots in the book, the cases, it's not just one, cases are very well put together. They have you, along for the ride for these police procedure novels. They're very, very good reads. I highly recommend them if you're looking for police procedure novels. And they're not like the old-timey murder mystery novels to where, if you're curious, you can hop to the back of the book and figure out who done it, because each of these police procedure novels has 2 to 3 cases that are being investigated in this book. And you don't lose track of what's going on in any one of the investigations that are going on in the novels. Let me bring him up. Let me see, because I'm sure right now, because this is the age of the internet, that he's got to have a website.
Yep.
So yeah. Yep. Here we go. There we are. There he is. Or there he was, because when they bestow an honor, oh Lord. All right, so let's go to his. I'm going to click on booked and see if that. There it is. There it is. Okay, so if you guys want to start reading his novels that I highly recommend, and he's been writing these things since 1956. Oh my God, I've missed so many. Okay, I've read Till Death. I've read Hail, Hail, the Gang's All Here. I've read Bread, Ice, All Through the House, 8 Black Horses, Lullaby Vespers. Yeah, I'm behind. Holy shit. I am behind. Yeah. Start with the 87th Precinct novels and then work your way down, because the 87th Precinct novels are where he establishes his world and characters. And you won't be disappointed. These are page turners. These are really good page turners. Gladly the Cross-Eyed Bear is a Matthew Hope novel that I have read that is absolutely... Why are these in black? Are they no longer in print? That's weird, because you can't see those.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I've read some of those.
Yep. Oh, here's an announcement for you.
Oh my God, hit 50,000 subscribers. Woohoo. Congratulations. You guys go to Twitter and congratulate him if you haven't seen that. I've read out of all of these, there's Goldilocks that I can't remember reading, Rumpelstiltskin that I haven't read, Beauty and the Beast I didn't read, Jack and the Beanstalk I have read, Snow White and Rose Red I have read, I've read Cinderella, I've read Puss in Boots.
Rose Red.
Yeah, I've read Puss in Boots. I don't remember reading the house that Jack built. I've read Three Blind Mice, Mary Mary, and Gladly the Cross-Eyed Bear. These are very, very good books. Very, very good books. Let me click on the Rogues Gallery. Nope. Okay. Mixed bag. Because there's one he wrote called 8 Black Horses. Is that the 87th Precinct? No. There it is. 8 Black Horses. That one was good. He's a very solid writer. So if you guys have never heard of him, see if you can get a hold of his books and read them, because they're very, very good. Very good. If you like reading things from a forensic and scientific point of view, let me introduce you, if you haven't heard of her already, Miss Patricia Cornwell. The reason why I'm recommending her is because she used to be an ME. And she writes books from the perspective of the medical examiner, with a lot more excitement, because she gets into a lot of trouble. The Scarpetta series is the series of her Emmy. Let me see which ones I have read. I've read Flesh and Blood, I believe. Yeah. Port Mortuary, I think I read Red Mist. I can't remember. The Scarpetta Factor, Scarpetta I've read. I've read The Book of the Dead, I believe. I don't remember reading Predator. The Last Precinct, I've read. Point of Origin? Sounds familiar. Unnatural Exposure, I've read. From Potter's Field, I have read. The Body Farm, I read. Oh my God, The Body Farm. Body of Evidence. Yeah, when I say that, you know, holy shit.
Yeah.
All That Remains was also good. There hasn't been a single book that I've picked up from her that
We're gonna make Maddie make a sound.
Oh, that's a squeak. Why you gotta show me a puppy in the middle of the stream? Why you gotta do that?
Because it popped up on my feed and everything, and I had to share.
I remember Quincy. I remember the TV show Quincy. I loved Bones. I loved watching Bones.
Bones was great.
Bones was great. But yeah, those are the books. I've read Stephen King books. Now, I will admit, I haven't read all of them, but I started reading one that about half.
Goodness.
Yeah, she's been sick to her tummy. It's okay, girl. It's okay, girl. It's all right. We know you're sick to your tummy. Don't do the nasty dog thing of licking it back up.
Yeah, leave it.
Please. So that book is Pet Cemetery. I started reading Pet Cemetery. I got into Pet Cemetery, and about halfway through the book, I got bored and quit. Because it just didn't keep my attention. I don't know why. I can't explain why it didn't. It's just I stopped. Because there was, now I know I'm like many people. I am fully aware that when you adapt novels to the big screen, you can't include everything in the books, in the movies. Otherwise, all the movies would be, baby girl, you aren't feeling too good today. Yeah, otherwise every movie from every book would be two or three parts.
She keeps on like that and everything. She hasn't gotten any better by Friday.
Yeah.
She's going to that.
Yeah, I know. Stories are interesting, but yeah, I mean, not everybody. It's like my mom is into Tom Clancy. Not for me. I don't do Tom
It's
Clancy.
all for me. Rainbow Six, Splinter Cell. Love it.
She does. She is. She's a very interesting author. Yeah, Tom Clancy isn't for me. Never really. I tried reading his books. I just can't get into them, and it happens. You're not gonna like every author that you come across. I mean, it just happens that way. Goodness. Baby girl, come here. Stay away from that. We got to clean that up. Like, goodness. Yeah, she is. There was another one. I know there was, because my mom would read these books. My mom would read these people, and then she'd go, "Oh, I'm going to send you these books. You have to read these books." So the next thing I know, these books are showing up at my house. And then, she'll give me some time, and she'll go, "Have you started reading the books yet?" She kind of reminds me of her mother that would send me care packages. Have you opened, have you opened up the box I sent you yet? No, not yet. Okay, some of you probably don't recognize this name, but I am going to introduce you to this author. This is another author. Okay, so apparently he may not have his. Nope, he does not appear to have a website. Okay, that works. I guess. Boop. I guess he was. Boop, and then kind of disappeared. This guy writes suspense novels, and all of them are pretty much 2-word titles. I have read The Store, The Association, and The House. I haven't read The Collection, The Haunted, or The Resort. All these are set up in sort of, how do I explain it? Take the Twilight Zone, mix in some Dean Koontz, and sprinkle just the tiniest bit of Stephen King, and you have Bentley Little. Because each of these books has its own world that he established. He's really good at establishing the world in each of these books. And he has really, really solid characters in these books. So I'm going to click on The House and see if they give you a synopsis. Yes, here we go. Yeah. Basically, 5 complete strangers from across America about to come together and open the door to a place of evil they all call home. Inexplicably, 4 men and 1 woman are having heart-stopping nightmares revolving around the dark and forbidding houses where each of them were born. Him's a little spoopy, Hunley. Him's a little spoopy. When recent terrifying events occur, they are all each drawn to their identical childhood homes, only to comfort a sinister supernatural presence which has pursued them all their lives and is now closer than ever to capturing their souls. This was my introduction to Bentley Little. And I couldn't put this book down. Each of the characters are solidly written. The way they got there was solid. What they're going through was like, oh my fucking God, how do you survive this shit? But the books are really, really good. Yes, you do. Another author along that vein is John Saul. He writes macabre and suspense stories. And he does very, very good at, making solid characters and establishing the world within each of his books. I don't remember if I've read The Dark of Night, but I know there was a couple that I have read. I've read Shadows. I don't remember reading Suffer the Children. The God Project sounds familiar. Some of these books my mom had and I didn't read, which is why they sound familiar, but I just didn't have time to read them. But yeah, John Saul is another one. So let me click on Shadows. I believe it's Shadows. And give you the synopsis for that book. Sinister supernatural presence sounds like my childhood. They call it the Academy, a secluded clifftop mansion overlooking the rugged Pacific coast. A school for children, gifted or cursed, with extraordinary minds. Children soon to come under the influence of an intelligence even more brilliant than their own, and unspeakably evil. For within this mind, a dark plan is taking form. A plan so horrifying, no one will believe it, but no one but the children, and for them, it is already too late. Too late unless one young student can resist the seductive invitation that will lead into the shadows. So yeah, supernatural is his thing, and it's just wow, holy shit. Now, Z, thank you. I don't need the companion. I just haven't read. I want to read more of his books, but a lot of these got, again, molded. So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of collections and stuff I have to, get back to doing. There's one of these books. This is it. This is the book. This is the book. If you want a fast-paced, suspense-filled, hard-hitting page-turner, intensity, you have got to read this book. You kind of forget that this book takes place within 24 hours. Everything in this book, 24 hours. What this woman goes through, she goes through in a day, in an actual day. This book had me going, there is no way you can cram this much shit in 24 hours, but he did it. And I couldn't put the book down. I haven't read the movie that came from the book because I'm afraid that they're going to leave out so much. It'll be just horrifyingly disappointing. But yeah, oh my God, this book is just wow. So yeah, there's that book. Let me see. What other? Is there any other? I'm trying to think of any other murder mysteries and stuff that I have read that I would recommend. Super intelligence. Oh, somebody's trying to start an argument in my chat. Let me see here. No. Now, since I know when you adapt a book into a movie, it's impossible to fit everything in the movie. There are still some movie adaptations that have fallen short. Okay. There are some adaptations that have fallen short that if I hadn't have read the book beforehand, I would have not known what was going on. And that is Needful Things. And if you hold on just a second, I gotta let me see where somebody went because somebody needs to go out. Somebody needs to go pee. The Needful Things book is crafted very well. It's not one of his more scarier books. It's more of a slow building suspense kind of novel from Stephen King. It's very interesting. It does keep your attention. The way the main antagonist weaves everything together, it keeps you turning the pages to see how he's going to get everything to come to a head soon. But this is a book that is heavy in backstory, heavy in narrative exposition, meaning it shows you what you need to know. It doesn't explain to you what you need to know. It doesn't flat out tell you what you need to know. It shows you during the narrative, during the story of what's going on. It's exposing you to all these people and how they interact with each other and how those interactions change and what happens. And so I read the book, I watched the movie, and I went, what the fuck? Another Stephen King book to actually miniseries adaptation that made me go, what the hell am I watching, was Tommyknockers. Because the book is thick, but the book was good. The book established a storyline, a slow progression of events that kept your, attention, the climax, and then the resolution of the story. And it was a really, really good story. And then I watched the miniseries, and then I wondered if the people that made the miniseries actually read the book. Because it had very, very little in common with the novel, and that pissed me off. I'm like, you're going to make a miniseries of a book that I like, and then the miniseries is going to be so loosely adapted from the book that I don't even recognize the fact that it was based on a book to begin with. That's bad. Yeah. So that Tommyknockers was a really big disappointment. However, on the flip side, The Dark Half was a fairly good adaptation. It was a very, what's that fucking word I'm looking for? Faithful adaptation of Stephen King's book of the same name. Now, they couldn't have put like frightfully accurate effects in the movie that he described in the book, because I believe there would have been people puking in the movie theater if they would have done that, which would have been bad for the employees, because nobody wants to pick that stuff up. Yeah, I wish Rose Red was a book too. That was a really good miniseries. That was a very good miniseries. Now, I've read The Stand and I've watched the miniseries The Stand, the original miniseries The Stand. That is in my opinion, it's a very faithful adaptation. They should leave it alone. They should leave it alone, but they're going to reboot it. And this leads me to the last part of the stream and a little rant, if you will. Just kind of entertain me for a moment. The only reason, in my opinion, things need to be remade or things need to be rebooted is if you can make a more accurate telling from the original movie, or if you can improve upon it, the story in any way while remaining in the canon. And what I consider canon is the author's original works. Okay? I am so sick of Batman reboots. If there's another effing Batman reboot with another effing Joker, I am going to lose my shit. The Joker is not the only adversary Batman ever had. Reach into your freaking bag of tricks and pick somebody else. I want to see the Riddler. I want to see Penguin. I want to see all these other people. I'm tired of the Joker. I'm tired of seeing him. I'm tired of his multiple iterations and multiple interpretations. Give me a different villain. I want a different Batman villain if you're going to reboot Batman. I want a different Batman villain. If you're going to reboot Superman, for Christ's sake, I've had enough of Lex Luthor. Give me Brainiac. Poison Ivy. Give me Brainiac. Give me Darkseid. Give me these people that challenge him in a different way other than, him pummeling. Hell, if they didn't screw it up, and I'm putting it this way, if they did not screw it up, and if I knew they weren't going to screw it up, I would absolutely love a faithful to the letter adaptation of the graphic novel Kingdom Come. I loved that graphic novel. For those of you that don't know what it is, it's an alternate universe within DC where the metahumans go to war with one another. Where Captain Marvel, not Captain Bitchface or Captain PMS, I'm talking about Shazam, the person that I will always forever call Captain Marvel, brain was taken over and controlled by somebody else, and he damn near kills Superman in the graphic novel. The Goblin Imp guy that you have. Yep. Mitzelplick, I believe was his name. Mitzelplick. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. DC has all of these villains, and they keep recycling the same ones. Now, if they want to redo a Green Lantern, if they want to reboot Green Lantern, fine. They need to. They need to make a solid movie, The Bookworm and the Riddler. Yeah. They need to make a solid movie for the Green Lantern. The story needs to be solid. The character arcs need to be solid. And they can't end it with parallax. Give me it's like, oh, we're introducing the Green Lantern. Here's his origin story, and here's his character development, and oh yeah, we're gonna blow our wad in the first fucking movie by letting him fight the most powerful one, most powerful entity in his universe. So where do you go from there? Nowhere. King Tut, right? Oh my God. It's like, everybody bitched and I know the gripes. Because I was disappointed in the Suicide Squad. It's funny, they had to run a series, The Adventures of Lois and Clark. And I've not liked Superman properties. So yeah, they just, I don't know. It's just dumb. I'm a Green Lantern in the DC MMO. I did not like the Suicide Squad. It disappointed me. Not the interaction in between the characters. I believe there was a lot of really good chemistry in between the characters in the movie. Okay? However, they could have taken a cue from the DC animated universe and just followed it point by point and done a live action of Assault on Arkham. And that would have been a far better movie than what they came out with. Because what they came out with was just no. I'm sorry. No. Okay? Because by the time that movie came around, how many, magical metahumans and mystical powers have we come across in the comic book movie world? We didn't want to see another one. Hell, it's just, I'm like, with the shit. If you're going to do it, stick to canon. Now, if you're going to establish a world in the movies, loosely based on comic books, and then go from there, the MCU, till they got to Captain Bitchface, worked well. Some of the movies were really good, and some of the movies were like, okay, well, you're moving the story along. I guess there's character development in there. The story could have been a little bit better. You could have relied on the special effects a little bit less. But for all in all, it was a solid establishment of a comic book universe on the big screen. And for those of us that love these Marvel characters, we knew the differences. And some of the differences we could live with. Some of the differences we bit our tongue on. And then there were other differences, that you were like, I just wish they would have gone with the comic book because it would have been a hell of a lot better. I would like to see a Planet Hulk. They hinted at Planet Hulk with Ragnarok, but they've never gone there. Now, I haven't seen Endgame. I saw Infinity War. We're going to see Endgame whenever it hits one of the streaming services because we just didn't have the time or the money to go. and watch the movie. But if you guys ever find yourself on the Comic Storian channel, I'm going to type his name in the live chat. Look up, just do a search for Infinity Gauntlet, because that is how it all began. That is the comic book story of the Infinity War and Endgame. Now, I will warn you, if you haven't listened to it before, if you haven't read the comic book series before, that arc before, the only thing I'm going to tell you is you're going to be irked when you realize how much they changed for those two movies from the comic book. Yep. One thing that they changed in the movie is Scarlet Witch dies in the movie. She didn't die in the comic book arc. Doctor Strange died in the movie. He didn't die in the comic book arc. And Strange plays a very important part in the comic book arc. And I'm not going to tell you what that is. You're going to have to go to the Comic Storian one and, watch the video. Now, the video is about 2 hours long. You could probably listen to it while you're doing other stuff because he does explain everything as he goes. Yes, and no Adam Warlock. No Adam Warlock. And if I remember correctly, there was no Captain Bitchface either. So she was shoehorned in there. She was shoehorned big time. They completely changed Thanos' motivation. In the movies, he was, against overpopulation and this environmental wacko dude who figured killing off half the galaxy would save the resources and the environment on every planet that ever existed. That was not the case in the comic books. Bit part. Okay. See, it's been many, many decades since I have read it, so I couldn't remember. Thanks, Gerbil. Yeah, so watch that. It's really interesting. And he does present the stuff in a way that it's not boring, and he does walk you through the entire saga in 2 hours, because this was an entire comic book arc that involved the entire MCU. I mean, the entire Marvel universe in the comic books. So yeah, there's that. I'm probably going to do another one of these next Sunday, where you guys are going to see me do some writing. Or I'm thinking of, I'll put this up to vote for you guys, okay? Next Sunday with the Writers Workshop. Press 1 in the chat if you want to actually see my writing process, or press 2 in the chat if you want to play Prompt the Writer. Now, this is a game that I've come up with recently, to where you guys put writing prompts in the live chat, and I make anything from a poem to a short story out of your writing prompt. But it has to be a good writing prompt. So, 1 for watching my, me write and my writing process. 2, to prompt the writer and give me writing prompts and see what I do with them. I want Maddy to be a DM. I've got to get all my Shadowrun books back, and then I can go back to DMing. I don't have any of my Shadowrun books. Well, I have them on PDF. I'm old school. I like holding books. I guess I got to get out of that habit, huh? For the most part, anyway. I will never completely abandon my books. I am too much of, I want to sit in a chair and flip a page person. I love the smell of a book. So that's 2 for watching my writing process. Okay. So far, no votes for Prompt the Writer. Do a limerick. I did a couple on Twitter. Unfortunately, both of them were about Bette Midler, who's becoming more senile as the years go on. I need to check my blog first. What am I writing? Link me your blog in the Discord, Hunley. Or DM me your blog on Twitter, whichever one. I am going to be more active on my writing blog because I found a couple of different websites that'll give me daily writing prompts so I can actually, keep that writing muscle flexed and going. And I'm also going to make the best active effort I can to meet my writing goals on a daily basis so I can get another novel knocked out. Let me see. There was an actress named Alyssa. If she stopped tweeting, nobody'd miss her. She put her foot in her mouth because her brain had gone south, and now she's a C-lister. So yeah. All right. Everybody wants to see my writing process. Cool. All right. So we'll set that up for next Sunday then. Same time, 1:00 CST, which is 2:00 Eastern time and 7:00 UK time, I think, maybe. I know there's been a time change over there too, so I don't know. I have no clue. So, yep, next Sunday will definitely you watching me do my writing process, my editing, and stuff like that. So, I'm glad you liked the limerick, Sora. So, yeah, until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later. And don't forget, all the different I prefer holding books, but have much enjoyment with my Kindle. I do too. I kind of use my Kindle for reference books and stuff mostly. There are several ways to support my channel in the description. You can either tip me via PayPal, click on the Zero Strings link, or buy me a coffee because I am now on coffee. So, oh yeah, tomorrow morning at 10:30 Central Standard Time. The Morning Brew Ghetto Edition will be back for the time being because I am trying to save up money to either upgrade this laptop or get a beast before August 1st so I can continue streaming. So, yep, there is that. So catch me tomorrow morning for the Morning Brew at 10:30 CST with Merlin. Hi, I'm a Merlin. We'll be there too. So, have a good Sunday, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon, evening, or Monday morning if if it's already tomorrow for you guys. And yeah, see you guys around.